well, this is something that I have been intending to do for quite some time and is probably the culmination of several years of work and coordination between different companies and organizations and grants and all these different kinds of things. We're going to build a 3D printer. So what we have here in front of me right now is a Prusa MK4. As a personal printer, I use a Prusa Mini. I have followed Prusa research for quite some time, and here in the lab we finally have gotten ourselves a Prusa MK4, but it is a kit, which means we have to put it together, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to kind of show how a printer is assembled, all the different parts, what they all look like. Here a little bit later on, I'll be joined by my counterpart Sam, and we're going to be building this printing together. But I wanted to unbox this kit just right now so we can get all the parts laid out, so we can look at what all the parts are, what they all do, maybe talk about a few of them as we go along. Now I'm just going to be using a simple multi-tool to do all of this, and of course this is a multi-tool I've had for a really long time, so I doubt this knife is as sharp as it should be. But here we are unboxing this Prusa MK4. We have our instructions right there via QR code, which is all nice and easy. Looks like we have a standard power cable. We have a 3D printing handbook, very useful material for reading things. We also have a quality assurance sheet letting us know that the parts have been checked and they are okay and good to go. We have a thumb drive that is from Prusa. Now typically this will contain usually their version of Benchy. They might even have, I want to say it's Buddy. Buddy is a little pug print that they use for testing and whatnot. And of course we have our Haribo. I was telling everybody when I was opening up this box, if there wasn't Haribo in the box, I was going to be mad. So we have our Haribo. Prusa Research is out of the Czech Republic, and almost every single kit that I've ever gotten from them has always had a bag of Haribo in it. And there's even instructions on when to eat the Haribo bears, so we're going to go through all of that. We have our steel sheet. That's going to be our print bed. That's very nice. And then let's go ahead and open up the rest of the box, see what we have in here. All right, this all comes nicely well put together. This would be our control box, main control unit. And then we have several other boxes here. Motor kit, some packing material, extrusion and plate set, all the rods, printed parts, the orange printed parts. One of the fun things about Prusa printers is quite a few parts to the printer are actually 3D printed. So if you need to replace certain parts and whatnot, you can actually do that just by printing your own. So very quickly we were able to unbox that and get all of our parts laid out here. And we're going to come back here in a little while and we're going to go through all of these and start building our printer. Now, as Sam and I were preparing to start this printer build, I don't think either of us realized exactly how many parts were involved. So we got started with putting together the frame, and that was probably the easiest part of this entire project. Because a 3D printer is so, I guess you would say, dependent upon everything being exact and aligned properly. Getting that frame really well done is an important part of the process. Next, we started putting on the PSU and the buddy board. Those are just the electronic components that really kind of make a printer a printer. Now, of course, we're doing this in the middle of our work week, so we're starting and stopping and starting and stopping as Sam had his appointments and I had work to do. Of course, we wanted to get our Haribo in there, so there is actual parts of the build process that actually call for us to do our Haribo, so you can see that on the build plate there. Next, we got into getting all the rods and bearings put together. This part that we're putting together here right now is our X-axis, and making sure that not only the bearings were well lubricated, but also the rods were lubricated and aligned properly was extremely important, because this is where our print head is going to sit and essentially do a lot of the work. Next here, we're putting together the Z-axis, and this required 2 smooth rods and 2 threaded rods. So Sam's doing one side, I'm doing the other, and we had to make sure that these were also aligned very carefully, because of course this is what the X-axis is going to be moving up and down on to create that Z-axis. And then once we get all that put together, we had to put all the cabling together. And the cabling on this Prusa MK4 was, it looked easy, but it was really tough to put together. As the gummy bears are disappearing, of course, so are also the parts on the table. Now we're putting together the actual hot end. And this was an extremely complicated part, because the Prusa MK4 also uses kind of a direct drive where your extruder is also built into the hot end. So this was a very, very sensitive part and a very hard part to put together. Once that was put together, we kind of felt we were at a stopping point for the day. We had put in a good solid day's work, broken up between appointments and whatnot, but we kind of put a pause on it at this point and picked it back up the next week. Get a really good look at that hot end there with that Prusa MK4 logo. Now, as we were picking up our activity, of course, we had to get our Haribo bears back out there, and then we got back to work. Now, at this point, we had already put together the Z-axis and the X-axis. Now we're putting together the Y-axis. Not only does this include a heated build plate, but also the Y-axis pulley that moves that build plate back and forth. So it got a little complicated with the wiring through here, and that's what you see us working on right now, is getting all the wiring. Not only do we have ribbon cables that go from our LED to the buddy board, but also the power supply to all of those as well. Then you got the cables that run your hot end and your stepper motors going up and down your X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis. There's a lot of cabling that goes into all that, so we had to make sure that that was all tucked away and neatly assembled. Now, this time-lapse video makes this build process look pretty easy. This was about 2-ish days of good, solid work put into assembling this printer. And it wasn't like we had some clearly defined parts to work with. It wasn't some kind of snap-together kit. We were literally building this with screws and everything else. I hope you enjoyed this just short little demonstration of how this build process goes, and we'll see you in the next segment when we get into calibrating this printer.